All right, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. Just give everybody just a couple more minutes. My name is Ryan Tagg. I'm part of the sales department here at Dominion Payroll. My role is a little bit different, though. I'm more on the account management side of things, and my role is to demonstrate the various products that we have and solutions. Today, we'll be focusing on applicant tracking and discussing onboarding, but I'm also sitting here with Megan Wolfgang, our resident HR generalist, and I will let her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Megan Wolfgang. I'm the senior HR generalist here, so focus on our internal HR processes, procedures, benefits, hiring, onboarding. So happy to be here and talk a little bit about just how we use the system, and kind of some of our strategies around hiring and onboarding this year.
Great. And so the plan for today's webinar is I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and then we're going to go through applicant tracking. It's going to be a quick demonstration. I'm going to try to limit it to about 15 minutes, about 15 to 20 minutes. But Megan is also going to weigh in, and we use the same software here at Dominion Payroll. So I think this will be a really great and unique opportunity to hear some insight from someone that actually uses the software. And she's going to jump in and discuss how she takes advantage of some of the various solutions that we offer through it. Again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A section down at the bottom. You're more than welcome to use the chat function as well. If you have any issues with audio or video, please let us know. I'll be keeping an eye on that, but we'll go ahead and jump in. And then if you have any interest in taking a look at like a one-on-one demonstration at the end, I'll also be including a link in the chat where you can sign up, and then it'll also be included in the email after the webinar is concluded. So this is our demo account here, and you'll notice that I'm starting off at a dashboard. Part of the recruiting process, what we'll be discussing today, a big part of that is keeping track of, where are these job postings going? Are they actually resulting in hires? And how quickly are you going from posting a job to actually hiring a new applicant? This section here, this dashboard, kind of gives you an overview of all that information. You'll notice over here at the left, you have open and closed jobs, new applicants, job closings, and then a graph right here where you can take a quick glance to see how you're doing. The source performance, and this is a key metric as part of applicant tracking and iHire, is that you want to know where you're posting these jobs, and then where you're getting applicants from, where you're getting the best applicants from, where are you doing the most hiring. So you're not spinning your wheels posting on sites where you're not getting great applicants, you're not getting good opportunities for new hires. And then down here at the bottom, you see hiring speed. So, especially if you have a position that needs to be filled quickly, you want to make sure that these job postings are being utilized effectively, and that you are hiring people at a good clip, and not just having job postings out there with nothing to result in. When you're ready to review your applicants, we have this applicant dashboard. You'll see I have myself in here, and one of our other sales consultants put in Birdie Made Chicken. That's hers. But the big takeaway from this section here is collaborative. So, Megan and I were discussing, talking about this yesterday, and just learning more about what we were going to talk about during the webinar. But she had mentioned that one of the big advantages, particularly now that a lot of people are working remotely, was the ability to collaborate internally. And part of how you can utilize this system is through a rating system right down here. If you can have any number of administrators, managers, supervisors gain access to this software, there's no limitation there. But if they wanted to come in and provide a rating about an applicant, they can do so, and they can also update the status here. So you can have multiple people involved in the hiring process, which, especially if you're still working remotely, becomes really important, because you're not going to have the opportunity to stop by someone's office and say, hey, I just interviewed so-and-so, this is how it went. And this gives you the opportunity to notify everyone involved what the status is right down here. And then again, provide that rating. When I click on their name, it's going to pull up a lot of great information about what the hire actually, when they were going through the application process, all the data that they submitted during that process. You notice down here you have a summary, so employment history, education, resume, references, Their full employment history will be listed here. You'll get more details about education. You can look at the resume specifically and all the details involved there, and references. Kind of continuing on what I was saying of it being a collaborative effort, over here on the right, you have a timeline. So you're able to go in and see anyone that has made any changes and when those changes were made. Now, that's not only important from a collaboration standpoint, but it's also important from a compliance standpoint. So we all, I mean, if you're in HR, if you're in recruiting, you understand the importance of collecting things like EEO data and other information like background checks, which we'll talk about in a second. But with this software, you're truly able to track from when an employee, or excuse me, a prospective employee applies. All the data that they've entered is going to be stored digitally. So you really have a history of when, if you ended up hiring this applicant, from when they're hired, even before that, all the way to the point where they're terminated or resigned through other data in the iSolve payroll platform. So you have a clear history of the entire timeline of an employee, again, from hire to retire. Up here at the right, you'll notice the send message button. This gives you the opportunity to send messages directly to the applicants. And you can do this via email, you can do this via text, depending on what they've indicated on their application. And then we can help you during the implementation process build templates to make those messages easier to send out. So you can see here some quick, pretty standard examples: an offer letter, rejection letter, thank you. Really, whatever your organization needs can be built out into there. Makes it really easy to communicate with the employees, and then you can even pull up their application if you want there. We also have this note function, and I'll kind of let Megan jump in here. Just to give you real briefly, you can tag other people in your organization and include notes. And Megan, I think yesterday you were talking about this is a function that you use quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really great tool, like Ryan had mentioned before, for collaboration. There are currently 2 of us who are in the iHire platform on a daily basis, so it makes it really easy for us to see if the other one has already reviewed this candidate, made notes about I've already contacted this person, or I've interviewed this person before, or whatever the note may be. So it's definitely a huge help. It's all in one place, so we're not having to send separate emails or other communications. And then, moving forward, if we do continue to, grow our internal HR department, or you add people to your team, those notes will always be in there. So as new people are joining your team and have access to the database, those notes will always be there for them.
Yeah, exactly. And, I talk about this all the time, as far as payroll is concerned, but, it's a cloud-based software, and it's all integrated. So it's all iSolve, and we don't purge data. So like Megan said, it'll live there, in perpetuity. It's not going to go anywhere unless, and we always tell people, like, don't delete anything, because it's good to have a record of the history of any information about an employee, even, potentially before they start. Again, from a compliance perspective, it protects you and the organization if you have as much information as possible about what the process is for an employee during hiring. You can also add scores, and then you can limit the view. So if, Megan maybe wanted to add a note that wasn't shared with managers, she would just click that button. And the ability to communicate internally, for Dominion payroll is particularly important. We have multiple offices, and we have offices in Nashville, Tampa, and North Carolina, Texas. So it's really easy for everyone to come in here and have it truly be a collaborative effort and to hire across our organization really quickly and easily. Moving on to the jobs here, this is where you would set up job questions. And another, great part about this platform is that, if you say, for example, you're hiring for an office manager, but then you needed an office assistant, you can use this template to repurpose it for other jobs as well. So, just because this is, some of the questions in here are specifically for an office manager, you could always copy this, these job questions, and then have it applied to a different template, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and you just kind of, curate it to what you need, again, without having to start from scratch. You'll notice here on the right with these questions, you can make them disqualifiers. So, if I'm hiring somebody that needs a driver's license, you ask them if they have a driver's license, and they say no. Obviously, you're probably not going to hire somebody for that position. And They still don't get completely removed from applicant tracking either. They're still being stored when we're looking at the applicant dashboard. They're just going to be pushed to a different bucket. So if you did have another position open up that you thought that applicant would be a good fit for, you would still have access to all the information that they had submitted. Job templates, it's going to be, like I was saying, you're not going to need to reinvent the wheel. If you have jobs that are similar to one another, you can kind of just tweak it a little bit and then go ahead and repost it, just to make things a little bit quicker and easier for you. Under job listings here, this is where you're going to find any jobs that have been posted. Under the action section right here, this is where you're going to push it out to the job boards. You can also view the applicants for a specific job or add them manually if you want. If you did have people coming in and say filling out an application via paper and submitting it in person, you can still use the applicant tracking software and just add them manually. But if you were working off of a more digital process, you wanted to push it to these job boards, you can just click post job boards here. You have a lot of social media options. You have direct job links. You wanted to post it elsewhere. We have the ability to allow you to create your own job ads, and then we can also work with you to create job ads on your behalf and create them. We can create them and then provide them to you, or like I said, you can do it yourself. And then truly the highlight of this service is the ability to push it out to multiple job boards really quickly and easily. And correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, there are hundreds of job boards that just come with this. I believe it's upwards of 500.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of different job boards that it just automatically pushes out to. And then of course, if you are in the recruiting space, you know that other job boards pick up from those job boards. And so it really does a nice job of getting it out onto as many job boards as possible. And it's a huge time saver. You're just like, Ryan is showing you, you're just posting in one place, and by a click of a button, it gets shot out to all of these other job boards.
And up here at the top, we do have preferred partnerships with companies like Indeed and Monster to get discounted rates if you did want to have a sponsored job posting. And then down at the bottom, like I said, we have hundreds. Part of the implementation process, if you wanted to take advantage of this service, would be kind of whittling the automated boards section down, so you're not having to scroll and scroll and scroll, and you're kind of only using the ones that you want. Also, with these job boards, one of my clients, they were posting to, I believe it was a local paper. It was digitally, but it was a local paper, and we didn't have that included here. If you have a local job board that you'd like added, so that you can just with a click of the button post that job to that job board, we can have that added within 24 hours. That same client had actually had a preferred posting with that newspaper, and they were spending, I think, $2,000–3,000 a year. And then what they found with the metrics and with all the job boards included in this, they no longer had to pay for that sponsored job post anymore. So they were actually able to save quite a bit of money with this piece of software. Not only just with having the plethora of options of boards to post to, but then like we were taking a look at the beginning, the metrics to back up that decision, so they can see exactly where they're getting these applicants from and how quickly they're hiring from those applications, and to make that decision a lot easier. And of course, you have a history of wherever you've pushed this job to as well. So, like I was saying, I just kind of like tack onto that a little bit more. If you're familiar with the payroll side of iSolved, you understand that the reporting functionality is incredibly robust. You can pull just about any data that's included in payroll out and generate a report via PDF or Excel. And it's the same thing with the applicant tracking iHire side of iSolved. You'll notice here we have just a ton of standard reports that you can take advantage of. You also have a dashboard for some digital tools if you didn't need to run in Excel or PDF, like I said. And you notice like pipeline. So if you wanted to get a little bit more detailed than what was just included on that dashboard that we looked at initially, you can do that here. And then if for whatever reason the standard reports that we offer aren't enough, or if there's other data you're looking for, you can actually go ahead and build your own reports. Talk about the HR Fuse in a second, but we also have analytic tools. And then you can check visitor traffic. So, where are you getting those visitors from? And then what website is it being sourced at? So I know I kind of skipped over HR Fuse because I did want to talk about the integrations, and that is part of iSolve. Like I said, it's all iSolve. So this is the applicant tracking arm of iSolve. It's called iHire. I know that saying applicant tracking is a little on the nose, but it's called iHire. And it is integrated with our electronic onboarding service. Now, I'm not going to demonstrate electronic onboarding. It's pretty easy to explain. When you're ready to hire an employee and you click this start process button, what that's going to do, you're going to make a few selections, but then that'll trigger an email to go out to the new hire with a link where they can do things like fill out their new hire paperwork, complete their I-9, complete their W-4, fill in their personal information. And the really great part of that process is that you, as an administrator or hiring manager, won't need to rekey that data into iSolve. It'll all be populated there automatically. That I-9 form, the W-4, will automatically be transferred into the HR section of iSolve under the employee document section. So it's really easy to go from the application process to the hiring process, and then finally get them into payroll. It's really seamless to get that all done. We also have background checks. Now, this is through a third-party partner of ours called Pro Screening. The pricing on that and the services vary depending on what it is you want to check. But if you're interested in that, like I said, we'll have a form that you can fill out and talk a little bit more about it. But again, it's through Pro Screening and it is integrated in here. And a question I get pretty often from a lot of clients is also about E-Verify. E-Verify is actually can be integrated into iSolve, but that's going to be on the payroll side. It's not integrated into the applicant tracking side because if you're verifying someone, I believe, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, they've already been hired. Is that
Correct? Yep.
Okay. So yeah, that's why it's going to be integrated into payroll. And then finally, we do have e-forms. Again, very similar to the messages section, but you can set those up here as well. So we go ahead and stop the share real quick. And I understand that I was trying to keep that high level and pretty quick for everyone. But if you have any questions, we're going to talk to Megan a little bit. But if you have any questions, throw it in the Q&A. I'm happy to pull my screen back up and run through anything that's unclear or answer any questions you may have. But now I'd like to just kind of dive a little bit deeper into what recruiting looks like these days. So first and foremost, Megan, if you could tell everybody a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I have been in the HR recruiting space for a little over 10 years now. I started in recruiting in the manufacturing industry and then moved into more of IT consulting before I came to Dominion Payroll. So I've definitely been, I've recruited across a number of different industries. I've used a number of different platforms, have had to use kind of no platform. So coming to Dominion and having these systems talk to each other has been a huge help, a time saver. So happy to answer any questions people have that are specific to these systems because I'm in them on a daily basis.
Great. And what initially, when you came to Dominion Payroll, what appealed to you about working here?
So I was a former client, and so we were, at my old position, in my old job, we were using Excel spreadsheets to track all of our new hire information. And then Dominion came down and sold us iSolve and the platform, and so kind of got my first taste of it there. And got to know some of the people here at Dominion Payroll, and when an opportunity arose, I was able to jump on board, and I've been here for about 2.5 years now.
Great. And I know that with COVID, especially as far as HR is concerned, your role has probably been spread out, or you've probably been taking on a lot of different responsibilities more so in the past. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody in the HR space, their roles have probably changed a lot this year. Just a lot of new things coming up, so everybody's roles have changed. But yeah, we've had to get really creative with how we recruit and hire, and all the way to onboarding, because we were completely remote. So moving from a space where being together and in person was really important to us, which it still is, but shifting overnight to a remote space. And so we definitely had to work as a team to get creative of how to make that work in a business where we put so much time and effort into just being in person together. So definitely this last year we've learned a lot. It's changed a lot, but I think that we've learned a lot about the processes and have been able to kind of shift our focus and be able to bring a lot of good into what we needed to change as we start to transition back into the office too.
Yeah, and I know that's a big part of the reason why we wanted to highlight the applicant tracking software. It sounds like that's been a huge help with people working remotely and the past year being virtual like that. Could you tell us a little bit about what you've learned? Now, I mean, it's been a year now, so I'm sure it caught you off guard initially, but
yeah, absolutely. Honestly, I think this last year has taught me and my team to use the technology more. I think that we really did rely on, doing those drive-bys to each other's desks and offices and just, sharing information in person. And then, you lose that information that we were talking about, the notes capability, the option to just kind of keep track of that information. So I think we learned a lot about we have this technology in front of us, and it's making it so much easier for us. So why don't we use it? So we really did learn a lot about kind of processing, cleaning up the processes, and making sure that we were using the technology in front of us, because it has made our lives easier over this last year.
Yeah, and a lot of feedback I get. I've heard this. Occasionally I'll hear this from clients that they prefer to have more of personal touch with recruiting, where they're dealing with people face to face. Obviously, it's not going to be possible all the time nowadays. But specifically as it relates to culture and the organization's culture, how do you overcome the challenges of conveying? Anyone who's familiar with payroll knows that we have a pretty unique culture here. How do you convey that recruiting right now with how everything is?
Yeah, I think that we always tell candidates that this is not our forever, this remote space. We're not going to be virtual forever. So we even continue to try to do things that helped build our culture over this last year when we were completely remote. So really sharing with our candidates all the things that we were trying to do while we were remote, sharing things that we've done in the past and that we hope to continue as we transition back into the office. And just being very open and honest about where we were at culturally, and how it was definitely a challenge being remote, but that we were able to kind of overcome that and being creative. For example, we met every morning, our whole entire company. Ryan knows this. Every morning at 8:15, our entire company would get together on a Teams call. We would go through, have different speakers. Some of you probably on here, maybe some of our clients came on and shared about what was going on with you guys. So we've had to get creative. Like I said, this whole last year was just a complete learning experience, I think, for everybody in the HR world.
And I can say personally, I've really come to appreciate, we're obviously not doing it with the same level of frequency as we were in the past, but now we're doing it Monday and Friday. But it's great to have an update, even if it is 15, 20 minutes, so that there's a nice, positive that came out of, negative. But it's really great to have that update Monday and Friday, and kind of keep up with everything that's going on in the organization. So, I could say, good job. That was it's been a really positive impact, at least for me personally.
Yeah, I think it's taught us as well. We're not only located in Richmond, we have 5 other locations. So it's been a way for all of us to stay connected as well. And even though we're all transitioning back into the office, I think that will probably continue. Something that we've learned that this was actually kind of something that has brought all of the offices together. So we'll probably continue to do that even when, COVID is a thing of the past.
And, we've talked a couple times about Dominion Payroll having multiple offices and how you can communicate using the applicant tracking tool with the notes section. There's communication that has to happen beyond just recruiting and having a plan for job postings and things like that. Could you tell us a little bit about some of the challenges and how you've overcome them, working with multiple offices and having a recruitment plan in place?
Yeah, it's definitely crucial to have a plan in place. I think over this last year, we've all learned that we kind of all need to operate the same way. You know, make sure you're consistent, and I think the tool really allows you to be consistent. I think some of the stuff that Ryan was showing, you know, the statuses, it shows you, you know, okay, you know, Ryan might know somebody and we're not going to just hire him, right? He has to go through these steps of
Should decide.
completed the first interview, second interview, right? So the tool allows some consistency, which really does help with when we have multiple locations and we're not all in the same place. So it allows us to track that and make sure that we're all holding each other accountable.
Yeah, and we touched on culture, and could you give anybody tips on how to create a positive culture? I know we talked about the webinars Monday and Friday, but some things that Dominion Payroll does that you found in your experience to be unique among business.
Yeah, you know, I think this past year we've had to get creative of how to, you know, I think our culture before was just kind of very much like in person, right? Reliant on these in-person gatherings and seeing each other and being able to collaborate in person. So as soon as we started going remote, we really kind of hyped up our Teams access. So, you know, when you're on a Teams call with somebody, make sure your video's on, like, so you're seeing, you know, getting that in-person interaction. But something that we've been doing in HR also are employee check-ins, just really upping the frequency on just checking in on people, because you're not having that face-to-face interaction. You're not walking by that person, you know, 4 times a day, going in and out. So being more intentional about doing these check-ins to see, just to get a pulse on how things are going. And that kind of helps, you know, leadership to kind of find a direction of where the culture is and what things that we need to be doing. I think you actually were the one, I think we did virtual happy hours. I think Ryan was the one that did that. So, we tried to do little things to maintain a positive culture and not lose that piece. That's really important to Dominion.
Yeah, and we were talking about this yesterday. I'd asked, I'll ask you again now, today, do you think that there's anything different that applicants are looking for beyond just their salary requirements?
I do, yeah. I think that a lot of people are definitely looking for more than a paycheck. And I say that to candidates all the time, and we're looking for candidates that are looking for more than a paycheck, right? We're looking for people who align with our values and that want to be a part of something more than just a payroll company. So I think a lot of candidates are looking for that. I think that's part of our success with hiring is that we are more than just a payroll, HR company. We bring more than that. So I think candidates really are looking for that. They want to be a part of something bigger than just this job. And we spend a lot of time at work, so you want to be a part of kind of that family feel and be close to the people you work with, because we spend too much time at work to not be a part of something like that.
Yeah, you're right, and I could say that's probably my favorite thing about working at Dominion Payroll is how they allow you to kind of develop the culture and be a part of it, and take part in helping and supporting our partners and clients in really unique ways. Like I don't know if we weren't going to mention it, but we're doing a donut eating competition on Friday, which sounds ridiculous, but it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to keep really limited capacity resolutions right now, so it'll be very safe. But we're doing it to support our client, SPCA Richmond. It's called Donuts for Dogs. But that's a great example of how taking like a unique approach to culture, and I just think it's so much fun. And whatever struggles you have at work, you can kind of fall back on the fact like I love working here because it gives me a lot of flexibility to help and also to have a great time. I think Dominion Payroll is going to really put itself in a great position, and Megan's a big part of why that's happened. And while not every organization, I would imagine, has the same number of clients we have, like with local businesses, but I guess the point being, think a little bit outside the box of how you can make your organization appeal to as many applicants as possible beyond just salary and traditional benefits.
Yeah. One thing I will say, one thing that myself and a few other people have been working on some other initiatives, and the idea of a culture fit came up, right? And we kind of landed on, let's get away from the term of being a fit, right? How about a culture add? Because everybody that's, we're hiring is bringing a little bit something different to the table, right? And that's what's so great is about creating a culture, is that not everybody has to be cookie cutter, this is the exact same. That's what everybody having different opinions and beliefs and, all of that is what really makes up a great culture. So, think about that term culture add as you guys are building out your cultures and hiring, as opposed to like finding that culture fit.
And that's really great. I'd never heard that before, a culture add versus a culture fit. I'd always kind of heard like what you're saying, like somebody being a good fit or not.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of black and white. It's nice to hear that somebody being different is a good thing.
Yeah.
And I guess to that point, how do you handle maintaining like a diverse workplace? I know that's always been important, but particularly these days, it's important to have a lot of different perspectives and cultures.
Yeah, it's definitely become a huge initiative for us this past year, and there's a handful of us that have met with a consultant who specializes in this area to kind of help us put some initiatives into place into bringing a more diverse group of candidates. But there's so many organizations that you can get involved with, the different chambers that are around, and just being out in the community. And we've talked a lot about partnering up with schools, different colleges that might be more diverse, and really creating an internship program that will bring in students who bring a more diverse background. So there's a lot of initiatives that we're working on. It's a lot of work, and it's not something that you can change overnight, or even in the next month or 3 months or 6 months. But I think that coming up with a plan of steps that you can take to kind of create a more diverse culture is a really good first step.
Yeah, I'd imagine throwing out a wider net probably gets you better candidates in the end, and candidates that end up staying for a long time. Would you say that that's true too?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the wider your reach, the more candidates you're going to get, and that's just going to give you just more opportunity to find quality candidates.
Yeah, and you may not know the numbers behind this, but and I don't know specifically either, but from what I've seen, there's a pretty high cost when you hire an employee and they don't work out. Is that true?
It is true. Yeah, there's a lot of dollars go into hiring a new employee, and so it's important that you are following a recruiting process and a hiring process to find the best candidates, because it's hard on everybody in the company when you spend a lot of time in the recruiting process and just the training process and onboarding and all of that for somebody to not work out. So it's important that you have those processes in place and in your hiring process that will help you vet to find the right candidates.
Well, looks like we had a couple questions come in, and I wanted to give a lot of space towards the end of this. We have an hour blocked off, so please, if anyone has any questions, don't hesitate to throw them out there. Give me 1 second, I'll pull those up to answer them for everyone. Patricia asked, is the applicant tracking an add-on? Yes, it is an additional service, and it's based on the number of employees that you have. If you're interested in pricing or you wanted a one-on-one demo, I'll be throwing a link into the chat for you to sign up. We'll also be following up with an email and a copy of this recording as well. And Greg asks, and this looks like a great question with Megan, how important do you think flexible work days are? Some days working from home, some days in the office will be going forward for potential hires 1, 3 years and beyond. Do you think that we'll ever go back to everyone in the office 5 days a week?
Yeah, that's a great question, Greg. I think the flexible work days is very important. I think we're seeing a lot of companies that are going fully remote. And so I think that, for example, Dominion Payroll, we will never be a fully remote company. We will always be in person at some capacity. But we also have a 1 day a week working from home policy. We're looking at getting creative with adding some, maybe potential more flex policies. So if you want to, if your kid's home from school on spring break, but you don't want to take PTO, you guys aren't going anywhere, but you have to be home, we'll allow you to, potentially work from home that week. So getting creative with those working from home policies, something, it's going to be different for every company, but I think that it is definitely important for us. We're finding definitely a lot of candidates in particular areas or industries want to stay remote. So it's going to be a challenge, especially if you are going back into the office. There's kind of this mind shift, right? We went from everybody being in the office, and then all of a sudden a flip of a switch. One day we're like, okay, everybody stay home. And, now we're starting that transition back, and, it's a mind shift. So I think it might last for a little bit with the idea that people want to continue to stay home. But I think eventually people are going to miss that community piece and want to get back into a physical space.
Yeah, and I think speaking personally in my experience coming back to the office, one of the great ways that Dominion Payroll has made that easier for employees is initiatives like what I was talking about on Friday that we're doing. Just kind of fun ways to bring people together in a safe and effective way. Not only helping the employees, but helping our community and really kind of diving back in that way. And when I talk about additional services, I never just talk about the advantages they have for an administrator. I always talk about the advantages for both an administrator and an employee. So I guess I'm not an HR expert like Megan, but I guess, when you're thinking about these things, try to think about, the advantages of working from home, but also the advantages of being in the office and how you can kind of augment those things to make them more attractive, both from an administrator perspective and then for the employees, however you decide to go. I don't, speaking personally, I don't think that remote work will ever go away fully. I mean, I think we're in it now. I think virtual meetings are a thing that are here to stay, and there are advantages and disadvantages that we're just going to have to accept and try to find a good balance and professionally. So any other questions? You have an HR professional, you have a product specialist here. Does anyone have any questions? Concerns?
While people are typing up their questions, if there are any, I will give just a quick shout out plug to these products. Like I said, I came from an organization that wasn't using anything, and this really is a huge time saver, but also has really kind of helped keep us safe from a compliance standpoint. Being across all offices, but really, I mean, the time saver going from iHire and hiring somebody into iSolved. I mean, I spend minimal time on any sort of paperwork on an employee's first day. I get to focus on the fun stuff and, showing them around the office and meeting people. I'm not doing tax forms. I'm not doing that kind of stuff. So I think it creates a really great employee experience for them to be able to fill out all of this paperwork just through a link. And then it makes it really easy for us on the HR administrative side as well. So it's really awesome that both systems, they're integrated, they talk, makes things super easy, because I know every HR person wears so many hats. So this is a really good time saver.
Yeah, that is true. It's kind of shocking to me how many people I speak with where they're like the accounting manager, but they also do HR, and a lot of times that should be a dedicated role. Richard asked, how do you keep your job ads at the top of the job boards? So Megan, how do you keep those fresh?
Yeah, so something that we do, there's in iHire, there is a feature where there's the open date and a close date. So something that we do, we just make sure that they close every month and then kind of refresh them, and then they go back to the top of the job boards. So in iHire, having those templates that Ryan went over, you can put all of your different job postings in there. So if you're recruiting for, the same positions over and over, creating a template, all you have to do is create new posts, select that template, and then hit submit. And it's, again, so easy. If once you get everything set up, it's super customizable. So for you to close a position and refresh it will take less than 5 minutes, and it'll go back up to the top of the job boards.
Glad you told me that. Now I actually, I knew that was not that specifically that. Yeah, so there's certainly a lot of advantages to that. And as far as like digitizing your processes, applicant tracking, if you're doing a lot of hiring, I've found, speaking with clients, you don't necessarily have to be going and looking for executive team members or like a director or anything like that to take advantage of this. One of my clients, they probably use it more than anybody else that I've worked with. They're hiring for anywhere from $10 to $15 an hour positions, but they're getting 300, 400 applicants per job, and it becomes difficult to manage all those applicants to find the right person. It's just overwhelming. So it doesn't, I don't want to, not that we have, but give anyone the impression that this is just for higher paying jobs. It's really just a way to manage all the applicants that you have coming in, because you'll get a lot. Depending on the job that you're posting.
Yeah, and those question templates are something that we use with all of our positions. So you can set those templates up based on the job that you're posting. So you can use different questions, but we use those questions as kind of like the first step, and it's kind of the are we going to open the door a little further and dig into their resume? Those questions are really telling. You can ask for salary expectations, so that could automatically toss a candidate out if their expectations are triple what we're able to pay. So there's a lot of good in those question templates as well to help with the process.
And something that I neglected to show initially, but and Louise, give me just 1 second. I just want to show one more aspect of applicant tracking before I answer your question. Part of the applicant tracking service is also building a career page and attaching it to your website, or embedding it into your website. So this is Dominion Payroll. Like I said, we use the same software as Megan's been talking about. And here are all our job postings. So if I wanted to be an account manager, I could quickly and easily fill out a 3-minute application with my resume, core information to apply really quickly. And what this does is you'll tend to get a lot more applicants with this quick application process versus a more in-depth one, which is an option. I've personally experienced more people, and correct me if I'm wrong, Megan, kind of moving to this quick application. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. And another feature that's really great in iHire is, so if somebody goes to this page and starts to fill out the quick application or any part of the application, and then they are kind of like, nah, something came up. Oh, I gotta go get a kid or whatever, they get interrupted and they don't finish, they don't complete the application. There is an incomplete application tab in iHire that you can see who has partially completed applications. So some of those people might have just put their name and there's not really any other information, but some of those people might have gotten to the point where they uploaded their resume, so you can kind of see what maybe their background is. And if their contact information is there, it's still an opportunity if they look like a great candidate for you to reach out to.
Well, thank you, Greg. Dominion Payroll does rock. Thank you. Louise asked, did you just say that you could refresh a job and it would move back to the top of the job boards? Do we actually close the job and reopen? How is it done?
Yes, so you would actually close the position and then you would want to reopen it. And I know that sounds like, an extra step and more work, but I'm telling you, it's very simple. When you are going through the job opening process, there is a date range that you can have it automatically close, or, there's different settings. If you fill it, it will automatically close, but you can, that date is always editable. Editable? Is that a word?
Editable. Editable.
So you can go in, say we're not getting a lot of applicants for this specific position. I'm going to go in and edit the date to close today, and then go back to my job templates, just reopen it, and it'll go back to the job board. So yes, you do have to actually close it, but again, it is pretty simple it's a simple process and should only take a couple minutes to do all of that.
And just out of curiosity, so say for example, we're posting a job for our client service department. About how many applicants do you get?
Oh gosh, we probably see, depending on how long we have it posted over a course of the few weeks, we probably see 7,500 applicants, you know, for those positions that are more like kind of like customer service related. You can fit a lot of different skill sets in those types of roles. You'll definitely see a lot of candidates come through. And I mean, some of the most popular, if we looked at our HR metrics, it would show that, you know, our top sources are Indeed, LinkedIn, employee referrals, and our website. And so we know that our jobs, and we do not post them anywhere else. We just post it through iHire. Occasionally we'll do, you know, a paid posting for a more specific position, but Indeed and LinkedIn, we know that our jobs are getting pushed out there where a lot of candidates are looking. So, yeah.
And Louise had a follow-up. Can we keep the same internal ID and simply add an O and identify the job? Looks like it.
So I think that if you open and close it, it would bring it up as a new job. So it would bring up, so say I had a job posted and brought in 50 candidates, those candidates would be linked to this job. I close it, and then I open a new one, and any new candidates coming in would be linked to that job. So it would be under a different ID.
And so we did get a couple questions about the metrics. To avoid any issues with the metrics, I believe you could just copy the job and repost it with, you know, maybe a slight change, so it's not the exact, it's not under the same job posting, and that'll keep the metrics accurate. Again, duplicating the jobs is not difficult, and all the same information will be there. And then my suggestion would be to archive the original. That way you have all the applicants from the original posting. And then you could also, it's a way to filter it a little bit. It's really easy to archive data, and you're still going to have access to it. And that would also keep your metrics accurate. Well, if you're duplicating that job rather than closing and reposting, for example. Heidi, I hope that answered your question too. I know that Louise had a follow-up that had asked the same thing. So just to go through that one more time, rather than what Megan's describing about like closing the job and reposting it, if you're trying to follow the metrics or reporting behind how that job specifically is functioning and how you're doing hiring for that, you could just duplicate that job and then post the duplication. Close the original. You're still going to have all the data, all the applicants from the original posting, and then you'll essentially just have quote unquote your job. It's going to be all the same data in there, and then the metrics from both will be available to you. Okay, guys, we're coming up to the end here. Just wanted to summarize that we'll be sending out a link with a recording to this if you want to take a look at just the overview that I provided throughout the tracking. Here's some of the questions and answers that we've been going through. Some other quick notes: if you want a more in-depth demonstration, or if you have questions, or you want more details on like how the metrics work, for example, or pricing information, you can sign up via the link that's included in the chat, or via the email that'll come following the conclusion of the webinar. And I just wanted to note too, like I said, I'm part of, I'm constantly demonstrating our services and solutions. And my primary role here at Dominion Payroll is just to make sure our clients are aware of everything that we have to offer. Applicant tracker included, but just as an overall, and one thing that's going to be my focus starting next month is to highlight 2 services every month. And to tie into that, we don't have a specific date yet, but I'll have it by the end of this week. I'll be focusing on Share and Perform, which is a performance management tool. In addition to it, how it relates to what we've been talking about today, it's also an internal communication tool and a bulletin board where you can share information about the organization, provide feedback amongst employees, managers, supervisors, and then decide, who's providing feedback to whom. Is it going to be between employees? Is it going to be from a manager to an employee, or vice versa. There are a lot of different options there. I'm not going to go too far in depth, but we'll do a quick overview just like we did today with applicant tracking in a couple weeks. Again, that's called share and perform. But it ties really well to what we've been talking about today with this remote workforce and how to communicate even outside of virtual work. But if you have multiple offices in different cities like we do here to the payroll, how you communicate as an organization while keeping a consistent cultural approach. So again, that's called share and perform, and we'll have some information about that going out next week. But Megan, anything left to add?
I don't think so. If anybody has any specific questions about, I mean, I'm in the tool every single day, so I'm happy to answer any questions offline if anybody wants to reach out. They can contact me.
Yeah. As far as HR questions are concerned, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself, client services, Megan. We're always happy to help, and we have solutions. If you don't have an in-house HR person, if you're struggling with recruiting or anything like that, let us know and see how we can help. But we're always here to answer any questions you have. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Cool. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.